Emma James with MediaWatch, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You've been looking at the reactions online to the latest round of primaries here in France, the Primaire de Gauche.
Indeed. Yes, France's ruling Socialist Party has whittled it down to two possible candidates for the presidency. But if we take a look at this cartoon from Alex, who says that basically this is the second slap in the face for Manuel Valls in the space of a week. Because Manuel Valls was actually slapped by an 18-year-old far-right supporter on the campaign trail last week, and the fact that Benoit Hamon, the underdog, actually came ahead of him in these primaries is actually a second slap in the face for him. Looking at some slightly more in-depth analysis now from Libération, they say that the press has really painted this as the clash of the two lefts, because these are two men very much at either end of the left political spectrum. Laurent Geoffrin, who writes for Libération, says the left has lost its soul. The duel is taking place on a boat that is letting in water, clearly not very optimistic about the fate of the socialists in the upcoming elections. What is interesting is in this article they also point out that in a rare moment of editorial unity, Libération actually used the same headline, they're a left-leaning newspaper, as the very much right-wing Le Figaro, which is the clash of the two lefts. Elsewhere, some people don't really think that the differences between the two men are that important at all. This Twitter user says that voting Hamon is perhaps choosing defeat, but voting Valls is choosing both defeat and dishonour. Indeed, a little harsh there. Maximilian Hoffmann from Deutsche Welle says the conflict at the heart of French socialists is now out in the open. Dreams versus pragmatism, because Benoit Hamon is seen as the idealist, which is what's led a lot of people internationally to compare him to Jeremy Corbyn. Some have said Bernie Sanders in the United States, but a lot, including the UK's Telegraph newspaper, comparing him to Jeremy Corbyn, who is, of course, the leader of the opposition in the United Kingdom. And what the Telegraph's asking is, where will socialism's great extinction strike next? Because Jeremy Corbyn, while he has some particularly evangelical followers almost, it is a small section of the United Kingdom, and really he is seen as unelectable because it's not thought that he can attract anyone else to vote for him other than those people who already think that he is wonderful. Looking elsewhere, looking stateside in particular, the New York Times is reporting on this one too. They're similarly gloomy on the future for the left. They say that this is basically a barometer. Everyone's watching this presidential election to see just how dissatisfied Europe is, basically. Was Brexit a one-off, or are we going to see a domino effect? Now, they quote a disgruntled metal worker who is a former socialist stalwart voter. And they asked him who he would vote for. He said, "You have Trump. Who do you think I am going to vote for?" Now, he didn't name Marine Le Pen, but the implication is very clear.
Looking stateside then, the first days of Donald Trump's administration are proving to be, it's fair to say, pretty eventful for the media.
Yes, a new president, a new administration, there's always going to be lots to report on, but it's not normally the media that is at the centre of the whole story. But this time it is. And cartoonists have really been inspired by the latest twists in the Donald Trump tale. It all centres on those claims about the size of his inauguration crowd. And this lecture, the Dutch cartoonist has, "Where is Waldo in Washington?" or "Where is Wally?" if you're British. And you've got Donald Trump saying, "I can't find him in that crowd," because, of course, Donald Trump claimed it was 1.5 million. In actual fact, it was far, far lower than that. Of course, the second person to tell some falsehoods about it all was Sean Spicer, the new press secretary. And this rather unsightly Dutch cartoon, I apologise if you find that a little offensive, he, of course, said largest audience to witness an inauguration, period. And here you've got Sean Spicer saying, "Look at the greatest, most beautiful clothes the world has ever seen." So lots and lots of jokes being made about this, including this from Anne Telnays in the Washington Post, because, of course, Kellyanne Conway, an advisor to Donald Trump, then came out with the amazing phrase that these were not lies, they were alternative facts. And that is the Donald Trump spin machine in effect there. Now, Politico magazine has published this article, which is a bit of advice, really, for journalists wondering how on earth to cope with the spin, the lies, the exaggerations that come with, or appear to be coming with, the Trump presidency. They say extraordinary times do not necessarily call for extraordinary measures. They call on journalists to be meticulous, aggressive, but calm in their presentation of the news. And they're urging us all to put on our big boy pants, which is a little bit sexist, but we'll let them off because it is a very funny article. Interestingly, though, Sean Spicer has just had his first full press briefing. Mixed reviews looking online at reactions from journalists. By standards set through the years, Spicer's doing very well, I'd say, but also this comment. Apparently, he said, sometimes we can disagree with the facts, perhaps not quite understanding what the word facts actually means.
Emma James, thank you very much indeed for that Media Watch. Great to see you.